those are the people who've really done it for me.
Gotcha. And you mentioned the arts as a. I know that you've also done some work. Your day job isn't as an artist. So how do you balance the two? Because you are both an artist as well as you have a day job as well. So I was wondering how you balance the two.
Well, I'm trying to do a better job of balancing at the moment, but I do work in the printing industry. I would love to be working full time as an artist, and that's what my goal is now. But during the day, I actually carry a sketch pad, and pens and pencils with me, so that when ideas hit, I don't lose them, and I come home and I jump right into my studio space,
So,
but.
Is that one of the things that you did at your house? Is you created a space? Because I know even when I talk to friends of mine, they have to have their space for their creative aspect that's away from the family space. So it sounds like to me that within your house, and I assume it's a house, you created some sort of space that is only for your artwork and your studio time.
Oh, absolutely. And I actually am single, live alone, so I don't have to worry about separating what I'm doing, in any particular exhibits. I've been able to exhibit my art in the virtual realm, 3D virtual reality, which a lot of people are not really familiar with, but a lot of people are. And because of virtual galleries, I've been able to gain an audience that's global. There are, people in Japan and other countries who are familiar with my name and my work now. And I didn't really expect how to start exhibiting locally. I wanted to do that in Atlanta. I was actually living in Atlanta when I started painting full time, and eventually had to move back north. And then I found that the Atlanta arts community sort of exploded after I left. So I don't know. I may wind up going back to Atlanta at some point. But I'm looking for opportunity here in the New Jersey, Philadelphia area.
So, Dean, you got any opportunities for? You're up there in New Jersey.
That's something I will have to research, man, and get back with you on that. So
that would be appreciated.
We'll have to see what we can find. Now, what has it been? I got one other guest I want to bring in as well. But what has it been, established artists, or have like this certain kind of track record? Not all galleries are as easy to get into. So I was just wondering what your experience has been like trying to get into galleries. And are you trying mainstream galleries, or are you trying a mixture of both mainstream and what we would consider community galleries?
Well, to be honest, the only time I ever approached a brick-and-mortar gallery was about maybe 6-7 years ago in the Atlanta area. And I was not successful. I didn't know too many people, who were connected. And so there wasn't really anyone to introduce me. And fortunately today, because of our technology, galleries are not the only way to go. We're able to, create our own exhibits, our own spaces. And as I said now, also in the virtual worlds, we can create our own galleries, which I've done successfully. A gallery representation would be great, though. That's not off the table at all. So I do plan on.
That actually brings up an interesting point, which is that, yes, for visual artists, it's probably easier to do some of these things on a more virtual kind of reality. I don't know how easy that is for dance and tours of like spoken word and for drumming, but is it possible to get some virtual connections to the art world through those mediums as well?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of spoken word being done virtually. It's really a wonderful environment and medium, the virtual world, the virtual realm.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are a lot of spoken word events that are going on in the areas that I operate in. A lot of that.
Gotcha.
Drumming as well, because musicians also use the virtual world by streaming from their studios.
Yeah. Kelly, are you still with me?
I'm still here. So
how much have you done? How much have you done that way?
I've done a little bit. I have
I have a few different courses that I do. These are actually courses that I do in the community for my adult class in terms of West African drumming. And what I do to supplement the courses is I actually, especially if someone misses a class or two, I have these private groups that you can create on Facebook or even on YouTube that are private just for the folks who have registered for the class. And I record myself giving sample lessons of everything we've done in class, maybe all the accompaniments we've studied in class, and so that people can go and they can actually look back. Let's say they've gone the whole week and class is coming up, and you're driving to class and say, "Oh man, I haven't even practiced any of the stuff we did last week." You can actually go onto the private group and watch the video clips of the accompaniments and refresh yourself before class. I may add some extras for people to practice, and then when they come to class, we'll say, "Well, who tried the new challenge that I gave you?" I've also made these private groups available to specific schools that I work with, specific school groups that I work with on a more intense basis. I've recently, over the last year, I've been asked to do classes over Zoom or Skype. And in terms of percussion, the latency issues with that technology makes things a little bit challenging. But I'm definitely still working on that.
Sounds wonderful. Definitely stay on the line there and everything. Dean, did I hear either Betsy or Sonya come on the line as well?
Yeah, we have Betsy Arts Access waiting to get in. Actually, welcome to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. You are now on the line.
Hey there, this is Betsy from Arts Access.
How are you doing, Betsy? Betsy, you may even know some of these people that I'm talking to. I don't know that you know JudiLynn, but I'm thinking you probably know Teli and Aya, because part of what you do is you try to make sure that the art is available to those folks that are having various disabilities. I'm imagining that's both physical and mental disabilities, but tell folks a little bit about what Art Access is all about here in North Carolina.
Sure, and I'm actually what Arts Access believes that the arts are powerful and the arts are important for lots of reasons, and we don't want people to be denied access because of a disability. And we work on accessibility for all disabilities, low vision, people who are blind, people who are deaf, physical disabilities, somebody that might use a wheelchair or a walker, and then things like autism and mental illness. So we're really not limited by a disability. And the way we do art and putting on plays and productions and say, you know, you need to think about everybody. You need to think about putting the welcoming mat for all people. And how do you do that and why it's important. And that's where our work lives, is really supporting the people making the art to include it, but our other audience is with people with disabilities. A lot of people with disabilities, they stay home because it's too much hassle, or they don't feel welcome, or they don't know that there's people out there willing to include them. So we're sort of a champion for the arts for people that might think that people aren't wanting them there. And so that's very powerful. I spend a lot of time at resource fairs and in special ed classrooms talking to families, just saying, you know, your kid can do a lot, and here's the places that will give them a drumming class, or, you know, isn't a wheelchair accessible space, or it's not going to look at him funny because he's acting different. So it's training and support for the people that make the arts, but we also are just sort of a champion and a cheerleader for a very marginalized community that often doesn't feel welcome or thought about, and trying to get them out and participating.
And I was wondering about that, both as participants as well as audience members. How do you think we're doing in terms of actually encouraging people from the various communities within the various forms of disability to actually get to these kind of events?
It's much better. It's much, much, much better. I mean, I think if you look at the numbers, I mean, 1 in 5 North Carolinians lives with a disability. And I'm a boomer. I'm a baby boomer. I mean, we're aging. The people that have, the swelling population is acquiring disabilities as we age. I've got a bad knee. I really care about stairs and how far I have to walk now. And you lose your vision and you lose your sight. So I think the market's driving it a little bit. I think if somewhere like DPAC or Carolina Theater doesn't think about things like, wheelchair accessibility and parking and all that, they're going to lose audiences. So that's better. And then, of course, in 1990, we passed a hugely important piece of civil rights legislation for people with disabilities, the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's 35 years old, but it really has there's a little bit of legal teeth behind people thinking and doing this. So if I call somewhere and say, can you provide sign language for your poetry reading, and, it's Duke University, and they say no, you can say, well, wait a minute. I do have, under the law, I can ask for that. That's a reasonable accommodation. That's what the law says. So a short answer, yes, it's much better. Do we have a long way to go? And do I hear from people weekly that they couldn't get in somewhere? Yes. But I think especially artists genuinely want to, include all people. Sometimes it's just for thinking about it. Are you going to have your event in an upstairs space? Well, that's okay, because sometimes that space is cheaper, but, you're not going to have people with disability in a wheelchair be able to get there, that type thing.
And both to Judy and Teli and Aya, how do you think that you've done in that regard in terms of actually reaching out to folks with disabilities? I know I've seen some performances that I don't know about Judy, but the rest of you have done that definitely have featured folks with disabilities.
Go ahead,
Judy. Well, it's interesting that you're this is what you're doing, because I was just thinking about today. I was contacted by a young lady through the web a little while ago who worked with people with disability, who worked with people who dealt with blindness, and she had heard about or seen my art, and she realized it's really textural, and that's what attracted her to it. And she said, this is the type of artwork that that might be my artwork too. But I thought about, how can I, make my art something that anyone can enjoy, regardless of their disability. I like what you're doing.
And thank you and Judy, you're up in Philadelphia, is that right? Or Philly?
I'm
where are you?
in South Jersey, not too far from Philly, just across the bridge.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, there's we should talk offline. There's some amazing stuff going on in your area. There's a lot of museums that are really thinking about this. But let me just, if y'all don't mind my advocacy, so there's something called audio description, which is a service that we do where you verbally describe what a blind person's missing. And a lot of folks that can't see, they used to be able to see. So people don't think, an art museum or a gallery show might not be interesting, but a